Good morning, everybody. Well, now it's working. You are tuned to Computers 2K now on the Nissan Communications Network. I'm Aaron, your host for the next couple of hours, along with Nick.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Katie's here.
Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. And Gal is here.
Good morning.
Good morning. Our number is 919-518-9773. Computers 2K Voice on Skype. And today's show is sponsored by vMix Software and is sponsored by Tom Sinclair of Live Streaming Gear. All right, I've got a few more bugs to fix here, but I can do it while we're going. So Gal and Katie, you were at GalaxyCon
Yeah, I could catch Nick up
last week.
last weekend. Yeah, last weekend it was in downtown Raleigh, the convention center, and I was selling my D&D maps at the After Dark thing, and it went really, really well. And it was funny because the After Dark, they had ballrooms set up or conference rooms or whatever that they had DJs come in and like do parties. And to get to the ballrooms, you had to walk down a hallway or whatever, and that's where the vendors were, and they were selling alcohol there too. So people were buying stuff like the first 3 hours, and then they got drunk and partied. So, but I did really well, and we got to hear the music, so we were just dancing at our booths.
What about you guys?
Well, I spent a bunch of time there. Saw a lot of interesting people, a lot of talks about a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with TV or cinema because of the SAG strike, the the Actors Guild. Because of their strike, they weren't allowed to discuss anything from TV or movie production. So all of the questions were around either acting as a career or some other aspect of these actors' experience. And for me, as an older guy in the audience, it was actually a very refreshing change because they didn't get to talk about the little details of their little acting gig or whatever. And so uh, the talks were more broad and more interesting to my liking. So overall, it was really, really fun. Got to see a lot of interesting people. Delancey, the guy who plays Q in Star Trek, he has an amazing career outside of Star Trek. So it was really fun listening to him. Uh, got to see Richard Dreyfuss, got to see Denise Crosby. There were a lot of Star Trek people. Um, uh, LeVar Burton and Brent Spinner and Marina Sitris. So getting to see them. And there were a lot of comics creators, new and old, and listening to their experiences and creation process and all that. Overall, it was fun. The cosplays were amazing. The people walking around in costumes. So yeah, I'll probably go next year again as well. Get to feel like a little kid in in Fantasyland for a couple of days. So it's fun.
Neato.
Yep.
How much money did you spend?
Oh, way too much. Way too much. And I was like, I was, I think previous year I spent much more. I was allowing myself much more. This year I was a lot more calculated. Um, Still probably spend out, I don't know, a couple of $100 across the days, not counting food, right? It's like, yeah.
Well, nice. Nice. Nick, what did you do? Oh, you had the problem with the internet last week.
I did.
Yeah.
You were
Damn.
fighting the internets.
Yeah, it's a constant task I take on through my professional career and in my non-professional career. Other than that, just being a beach bum, going to the beach a lot. That's about it.
All right. So what else is happening?
I've got an interesting kind of story about my parents. So they are officially cutting the cord, um, and it's been an interesting process. So they've had Spectrum TV, internet, and phone for close to 30 years. Like the now originally it was Time Warner, Roadrunner, whatever the original was. They've been a long-term customer of Spectrum. But the combo bill for all three of those services is some egregious amount, like north of 250, I think. Maybe even higher than that. I don't know exactly. So over the last couple months, my father's been talking to me about YouTube TV as an alternative to Spectrum. They have smart TVs, they've got Roku's and whatnot, so the barrier to entry is not very high. Um, so last week he decided to call Spectrum and say, "Hey, I want to drop sell the TV service and the home phone service and just stick with the internet service." And they would not offer him any deal to keep just the internet service. They were trying to charge $75 a month for their 300 megabit plan, which if you look on the website is 62 or 65. But because he wasn't a new customer and whatnot, that was the only thing that they would give him. So after 30 some odd years of being a Spectrum customer, that's gone. It's Fios now and YouTube TV. And they really, from his account, didn't try at all to keep a customer, even if it was just for internet service.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they used to have really good customer retention. I think Amnon, you can attest to that.
Yeah.
You just call and bitch and complain a little bit, and they'd pretty much give you the farm. But it appears that those days might be over.
Interesting. There's competition in the area. There's Fios, which obviously provides better bandwidth,
Sure.
and they're not fighting it.
No, which is odd. So I think the
Yeah.
Fios plan they're getting is 300 megabit symmetrical,
Right.
but it's $45 or $49 or something like that a month versus now that's a new customer that probably lasts, I don't know what, maybe a year or 6 months, and then it might go up $10 or so. Um, it's just interesting to see how these cable companies are just getting their clocks cleaned by all these other services, and they just don't seem to care.
Amazing.
Well,
So now I have access to YouTube TV as a family member, and it's a pretty good service. It's way nicer than Spectrum's, watch from away from home or whatever. They had some website that for the longest time was based on Silverlight. Up until recently, they switched it over to something else, but you had to use Silverlight for years to watch it. But the YouTube TV setup is it's pretty smooth. I mean, you can set your favorite channels. You set these like just like Netflix. You have your different user profiles where you can set your favorites and do all of that stuff. And it's interesting to see how these companies are trying to compete.
and is there a remote control
What do you
when
mean?
you watch? I mean, with Spectrum and all that, the biggest deal in going to streaming was you can't just use a remote. You have to use the mouse to click to change
Well, well,
channels and things like
wouldn't be a
that.
mouse. It would be a smart TV or a Roku. Um, so you traverse it the same way you would do
Okay,
Plex,
so
Netflix, Hulu, or any other app.
uh,
It's just another app that you install on your device. It's a separate app from the YouTube app. There's two apps. There's the YouTube app, which is all of the regular YouTube content, and then there's the specific YouTube TV app, which is just television on demand, DVR, and stuff like that.
okay, so you use the Roku remote just like
Or whatever
anybody.
device, yeah, Fire
Yeah.
TV, it's built into every smart TV also, and the nice thing about it is the web browser version of it is freaking awesome. It's so and I've got it open right now, and it's showing me thumbnails of every single channel that's on, and they're all in motion thumbnails. Let's see if I can show it quickly without getting a problem here.
Yeah, yeah. And don't.
Okay, well,
I'm afraid they.
Well, you can take a screenshot and maybe share that screenshot.
yeah, I'll do that. I'll put it in the chat. Good call.
Let's see who's calling in. Good morning.
Hello, it's Mike.
Hey, Mike.
Good morning. How are you doing?
All right. Why are you here and not on video?
That's a long story.
Okay.
But I think you guys talking about cutting the cord very timely because
Ew,
I just
your audio is going away, kind of. Try again.
can you hear me now?
Not like you're underwater. Try
Test
calling
one, two,
back.
three. All right.
Yeah, it sounded fine when he started, and then like the
Yeah.
traditional
just-
cell phone thing where it drops the quality down.
Um.
So,
Okay,
what's the
Mike.
comparison cost-wise?
Um,
I can hear
Wait,
me
I
now.
let's see.
think yeah, Mike's back on. Yeah, let's go
Yeah.
ahead.
All right, can you hear me okay?
Much better.
Okay. So anyway, I was listening to cut the cord. It's interesting to turn on and hear this because I dealt with this all day yesterday. I just happened to look at my AT&T bill for the first time in a long while, and I discovered that they jacked my bill up by $94 back in January. So my bill per month right now for internet and TV, UVerse, is $266 a month.
Oof.
And so I called them and finally got through to some moron and talked with him about 15 minutes. Oh, yes, we're going to keep your business. I have to transfer you to another number. I'm sure that we can get your price back down to where it was and maybe even lower. I said, okay, transfer me, but you're probably wasting your time. So they transferred me to this next moron. And no, she had zero interest. She couldn't care less. Oh, that's what it is. You had some great discounts. You lost them. And I said, okay, well, that's fine. And so she eventually she said, well, I can offer you a $20 discount. Do you want that? I said, you go ahead and put it on the bill. She said, go ahead and put it on because it's going to take me some time. So last night, my wife and I spent time going through trying because we're old and we didn't want to have to get away from the box like Amnon was talking about. We went through, we have the Roku anyway. We were already watching some things on Plex and some other things. So we're making the transition. We're getting used to it. My daughter has YouTube TV. They love it. They've gotten used to it. They've never had a box, I don't think. And bottom line is we're getting ready to cut the cord because think about it. I've got AT&T Fiber 1000. I've got UVerse TV. I also have Google Fiber. And the reason I had Google Fiber is because I felt like if AT&T was down, I could switch to Google Fiber when I was working from home during the pandemic, and so that worked. Never had an outage the whole time that went on. So about I don't know what was today, Sunday. So this would have been about it was Wednesday. Wednesday at 4:00 p.m. my internet goes out. I go outside, and there are guys digging outside, and it's a long story. I won't tell you the whole thing, but they denied cutting it. And then about 30 minutes later, they admitted it. They got it turned back on. I had a conference call that night at 7 that I did get to do. The next morning, I was up late. The next morning, about 8 o'clock, some guys banging on the door, and I don't think we went to the door, but I went outside about an hour later, and they had not only cut AT&T line again with a trencher, they had also cut through my Google Fiber line.
Oh,
So my backup idea didn't work, and I decided that if I'm going to have a backup internet, it's probably going to have to be wireless. And we only have 4G phones, so the hotspot option was not a really good one, but it was at least there. So anyway, bottom line is I figure that now we're gonna use YouTube TV as well, $73 a month. And I've already got Google Fiber, so that's $70 a month. So that's 143. I'm going from 266 to $143 a month.
as
Damn.
far, go ahead, Nick.
Damn. I mean, that it's amazing when you break it down, and it's a similar situation that I was describing from, upper mid twos to less than 150 or $160 a month. Um, it's just it's amazing the competition that's available, and how the providers just don't seem to care to keep the business. That's what's the
They
most
couldn't care
shocking thing
less.
to me.
I
Yeah.
I I take it a step further as far as, like, a little bit more complicated, but I don't have Spectrum TV or AT whatever, I don't have the online cord cutting, but I am cord cutting. So what I do is I have certain shows that I watch every year, and so I subscribe now that everybody has their own subscription service, I go and I'll subscribe to Paramount Plus or I'll subscribe to whatever and pay for it for, like, $5 a month. And then, like, I went to go cancel Paramount Plus because my show just ended, and they're like, "Wait, wait, wait, you get 2 months for free." And I was like, "Okay," and I kept it, 1, 2 months for free, but then also another show that I watch on Paramount Plus comes out in, like, 3 months, so I was like, "This is perfect." But I just
See,
I just go around and I hop between the streaming services.
I used to do similar stuff with the AT&T and T and Spectrum and all that, but I'm just not going to waste my time anymore. By the way, it just occurred to me my calculation was wrong. I'm doing 266 plus 70 for Google Fiber, so I'm actually paying $333 a month for all the internet and TV. That 333 will go down to 145.
Yeah,
So
and
it's less
and
than half.
and Mike, as far as a backup wireless, you can look at T-Mobile. You don't have to have their phones. It's just 5G internet, home internet, and I think it's $50 a month. But
Yeah, I'm not going to pay that. I'm looking for something really, really crappy for like $25 a month, and they've got Ting and some of the others. But I made the mistake of opening one of those ads on YouTube. I mean on Facebook, and now every other post on Facebook is internet, internet, internet. So I put like
I
it's
found
not urgent. It's just something I'd like to have.
I have an auto pay with AT&T, and last month I got the thing. Yeah, your bill is coming up, and it was 35. Now it's 40. So I need to call them tomorrow and find out what
For
what,
what?
what happened
40 for what?
for 500.
Oh, okay, okay. Is that fiber?
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Yeah, they're
it's the $65. It's the full price, but I get it personally, and because Kathy and me are on Social Security, and that's our income, you get that ACP or whatever they call it,
Yeah.
and you get $30 off. So
But
it
see,
was
they haven't even. My cell phone. I pay. We got a family plan. I pay for all my kids' cell phones still. They don't mind. And my cell phone bill is $250 a month for all five. 'Cause it's $45 a month per person. And they they have what they call their loyalty department.
Mhm.
And on my wireless, the $45 a month per line is the regular price. They're not even giving me a discount on my cell phones for having everything with them.
Yep.
They can go jump in the lake. I mean, it's a waste of time, and I'll have to do it again in a year or two. But I'm going to do it now. I'm on Social Security too, and they couldn't care less. I don't care.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'll be interested in seeing how. We don't like the idea of not having the remote and all that, but I noticed last night while we were playing around adding channels to Roku, one of the inconveniences of switching between Roku and the remote is having to switch the TV input. It's just aggravating with some of the
Um.
channel switching anymore.
Oh, I see what you're talking about. Yeah, because with
Well, if you're using everything on your Roku, then you shouldn't have to switch your
the switch
source.
source, right?
Correct. And that's going to be a benefit in getting over not having the UVerse box.
Yeah.
So that's all
Yeah.
I had.
So I was reading this morning that this guy from AT&T was saying, "Hey, we got your message," and I think that was on Twitter. And please let us know and send me a DM. But I didn't notice the date.
Well, I did that too on, I think it was on Friday when I figured all
Okay.
this out, and I opened the DM with AT&T. It used to be AT&T Cust, now it's just AT&T. And they didn't. They answered me, and then I answered those things when I came back. The person who was trying to quote unquote help me had left for the day, but left me a note saying, "I'll be here in the morning. Call me. Here's my extension." And the next day, I said, "The heck with it. I'm done with them." And she messaged me twice, and I never responded. And then last night, she messaged again on Twitter saying, "Here's my number. I'll be in here tomorrow. I'll."
Mm.
So I'm going to call them out of curiosity, but I'm not going to waste a lot of time with it. I
Yeah.
mean, I even found out about cutting the cord, and you guys know this, but we started looking at some things and some channels, and by reducing my bill to 145 a month, one of the things that we decided last night is that I may do like Katie and subscribe to a couple of additional channels. And one of them, believe it or not, is, as much as it's disgusting to me, but one of the channels I may subscribe to is Peacock TV, because about the only show I watch is Dateline NBC. Not only do they have it, I can record it off YouTube TV from every episode there on demand.
But what? Okay, on demand. Because I mean, remember, you can also have an antenna.
Not where I am. I'm way down in a hole, and the antenna reception is not good. And number two, if I put one outside, then I'll have to fight my HOA. So
The antennas, the antenna that I have is nothing that you have to use all the way outside. You can put it in your attic. It's not a small one. It's not the one you put on top of the TV.
no, I know. It's just a pain because this house is almost impossible to run wires. I've spent over
Oh,
$1,000 for people to run wires since we've been here.
yeah.
But anyway, that's what I had. I'll be
Okay.
listening. I'll be curious to see what you guys.
Yeah, we'll be. I'll be curious to know what's going on with that too.
Yep.
That'll be interesting to find out how they react.
Oh, I can tell you, they don't care.
I don't know. Maybe by the time you go to cancel, actually, they will care.
The only similar experience I've had is we used to have Verizon cell phones. And they jacked the prices up along. This was about 5 years ago, and I guess they
Right.
jacked the price up. I called them. I said, "You got any deal?" Nope. You're not gonna budget? Nope. Not gonna do it. I said,
Yeah.
"Okay." So I moved everything to AT&T, and they called the next day just crying.
Yeah.
The part of it is they don't think they think people are making idle threats.
Yeah. They do think that.
Well, but hold on. That we were. for a very long period of time,
Yeah,
we would just
I
call these companies and complain, and they would lower our bills. And I guess maybe we played our hand too much on that, and now they really don't believe you. Because I think my father's going to be in the same situation. They put him to retention, the retention, and they're, well, you can keep this, and we'll give you the basic that. And he's like, screw it, I'm not gonna deal with it. So I suspect, and I think I think they've paid their Spectrum August bill, so they're gonna keep Spectrum through the end of the month, and they're getting FiOS installed this week. And I'll be curious when they call, probably in a week or two, to cancel Spectrum outright after, I think, a 31 or 32-year customer at the same address, what the actual response will be when the answer, when the question is, okay, we're done. Like, there's no negotiating, there's no conversation. It's just done. I'll be very curious to see what they offer.
Well, now I've seen on Nextdoor that people have been canceling Spectrum, and they've closed all their local offices. Where we are in Cary, I believe you have to drive to Lumberton 30 miles. I mean, someplace 30 miles away to find a store to turn in your equipment, or that you have to ship it to them or drop it off somewhere. I mean, one guy said he was thinking about taking his firearm with him to make him cancel his account.
Yeah, there's they closed, or they have, I think, 2 Spectrum stores here, and I think only one of them is open. I've never understood never really understood the whole brick and mortar side of Spectrum for their stores. It always seemed to be a huge waste of money for me. Just
No, because all people want to go talk to somebody face to face like Amnon.
obviously it's not working because they're closing all the stores.
Well, it must have worked. I mean, yeah, but you could say that about anything. It's going to work till it doesn't. And a lot of people
True.
don't need to go to that store day in, day out. And now that things are changing, they're cutting the cord. They want to go return their equipment. The stores in.
It seems
Now
like
it
to
makes it
me
much more difficult.
it seems
That
like to me, if
sounds
I'm
to
Spectrum, I'm partnering with Best Buy or Staples or um hell, Walmart. I mean, just any big Target, any big box manufacturer, and I would be using their resources to have that. Maybe that's not cost effective. I would imagine penning a deal with one of those guys is a whole hell of a lot cheaper than running and operating a brick and mortar store where you've got to deal with liability insurance and everything associated with having a physical location versus having a little desk or whatever inside of a Walmart or a Best Buy.
No
Mhm.
doubt. But that saving corporate funds does not necessarily equate to good customer service, which then
True.
in itself causes a loss of corporate funds. So it's an endless cycle. And these companies now are just willing to ride it to the bottom.
Yeah, and they are. I mean, AT&T's stock hit a 30-year low last week, like $11 or something like that. Um, so
Well,
yeah, I think
that
the
may be why
riding to the
they've got
bottom
this
is
new
accurate.
attitude. Well, they can have it. I mean, between you and me, I can watch enough on Plex that I could pull the plug, but my wife watches weather and some of that other junk. So we'll keep the YouTube live. And as much as I detest Google and YouTube, I mean, I'm not endorsing their nonsense by paying them. I'm just getting the service. It's what it means to me, not what I mean to them, which is nothing. When you
What
think
did you
about all
think
the
of
data,
what did you think of the YouTube TV guide and everything? Did you find it to be pretty friendly?
I haven't done a test on. We're going to do the 3 week free test, or 1 week free test, whenever
Yeah.
we get some time to make sure we vote to it, which will probably be in the next week. And I mean, I've used it at my daughter's house, and there's a lot there, and it's a little awkward to use. But they fly right through it. My 4-year-old granddaughter can find out what she wants to watch on it.
Well, now before you subscribe, um, your daughter lives in Raleigh, correct?
Yes, yes.
Have so before you do the trial, have her make you invite you as a family member to the account.
Uh,
Um,
well, then you
that's
don't think it
this.
matters with a different IP address?
It does matter. So when you log in, it's going to tell you you're not on the same IP address. What are you doing? And you tell it you're traveling. And that will allow you to travel for 3 months without getting back to its home IP address. And after that 3 months, you just lose access to your local channels. So that would be your over the air ABC,
Well,
NBC, CBS, and Fox affiliate. But
that
there's
would be
plenty of
better.
workarounds, including just simply logging into doing a point to point VPN to just get your IP back there and then doing that every 3 months, which doesn't seem to be a huge barrier. I'll I'll be having to do that in a couple of months, so I'll report back on the process. Um,
What are you
but
using now?
for what?
What are you using for TV right now?
Right now, I'm a family member on my parents' YouTube TV account that they just created. Before that, I didn't have cable.
Oh,
I would just use the
oh,
Spectrum
okay,
app on Roku,
okay.
but very seldomly.
Yeah, there's not much there.
Yeah,
No.
every once in a while, I'll turn on something, but was not an everyday occurrence.
Yeah, I hear you.
All
All
right,
right,
Mike.
guys, gotta run.
See you, Mike.
Talk to you later. Bye bye.
Talk to you. Bye.
Bye.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Yeah.
It is very, very interesting. And Mike highlighted something there. You start 5 years ago, the idea of dropping, even for my parents, dropping the physical cable box and not having that would have seemed like a huge bear. I mean, hell, for you, Amnon. I
Yeah.
mean, a huge barrier. But you start using Netflix, you start using Plex, you start using some of these other smart TV apps. You
And
get comfortable enough with the interface. It's really not a big barrier to entry
right.
at all. I mean,
Not at
a
all.
little bit of a pain in the ass, I guess, but nobody even knows channel numbers anymore. I mean, there's what,
Right.
3,000 channels on Spectrum. It's not like you're punching those in. And you can do favorites and things like that on the YouTube TV, which you can't do on Spectrum. I don't think. I don't know that there's a way to do favorites on the guide.
I don't know.
So it's pretty interesting. It's gonna
Yep.
they're trying to they publicly they appear to be trying to compete, but I just don't know. I don't know behind the scenes if that's actually the case or not.
But they went up a bunch in the last year or year and a half, because I remember it going up and
Who,
up and up.
Spectrum?
No, YouTube TV.
Yeah, well, all of these services have. I mean,
Yeah.
when I first moved to North Carolina, I think you and me and Hannah did it at the same time. We subscribed to the Hulu Live TV, and it was like $45 a month. It was
Yeah.
so cheap. And then it's now over $80 a month, I think,
Phew.
Yep.
because of the licensing fees that they have to pay to the
Um,
TV providers. I mean, that's the cost of that. I don't think YouTube is making a fortune on their 70, I think Mike's $73 base package, um, because of
because
the
of the license. Yeah.
exorbitant. I mean, yeah, I mean AT&T or ESPN charges $3 or $4 per subscriber to the cable companies, and YouTube, for all intents and purposes, is a cable company. So that I don't think the margin on that is huge. It's very much a volume thing.
Yeah.
I believe it. They're not losing their ass on it, but they're not. I don't think they're raking in a vast majority of that monthly fee per customer. I think there's a lot of that is going straight out the door on the other side.
Well, we'll see how it's going. I mean, it seems like cutting the cord goes in waves, and if AT&T decided to raise their price, I mean, I'm sure if uh well, it's got nothing to do with really cutting the cord, the internet service hopping. If Google decides to raise their price, there's probably going to be a lot of people that are going to drop and go with somebody else, and they're cropping up in our area now. Who do we have? We have AT&T, Google, Spectrum. Well, I don't count Spectrum in there because they're not fiber and they're not really high speed, but they are.
That's not true. They offer a DOCSIS plan that's a gigabit down.
They do?
Yeah, they absolutely do.
Okay. I haven't
It's
seen it.
limited to, I think, 200 or 300 up, but they offer a
Okay. And
gigabit
then
download
there's
plan.
on the fringes there's Ting.
Mhm.
Uh, how much are your parents going to save from going from Spectrum to FiOS? Just
Um,
for internet.
it's hard to tell because it was in the bundle price, but the
Oh,
the Spectrum, I think they got quoted $75 for the 300 megabit plan from Spectrum, and now I think it's 45. So 20 or $30 a month. I,
yeah,
I think I
yeah.
think those were the numbers that I got. Um,
Yeah, that's substantial when you
yeah.
think.
Well,
Yeah,
and if Mike's still listening, I'll say this. Um, you might look at downgrading your internet plan from a gigabit to 500 megs,
that's yeah. I was going to mention that.
depending on the cost difference. I mean, I, I don't know that you're going to see a big difference between 500 megs, hell, even 300 megs in a gigabit, unless you're doing serious video upload. Um, I mean, I've got
Well, he's got Google.
okay.
He's got 1 gigabit with Google. So
Is
even
that
if
is that the lowest plan they offer?
yeah, Google is 1 gig. That's it.
Oh, okay,
No, but he's
gotcha.
got both. What I mean is, yeah, you
Well, he
can
said he was
try.
dropping one, yeah,
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. If he's yeah,
but he did bring up an interesting point about a backup provider, and it still being cable that's trenched in the ground.
yeah,
Um, you mentioned T-Mobile. I think they're the one that's pushing the biggest. I've seen a lot of commercials in the last year or so for their home internet,
right.
high-speed home internet package. Um, the other alternative, it's a little bit more expensive on the upside, would be Starlink. Um, it's a little bit more. It's probably pretty expensive
But
for a
it's
true
more yeah.
backup.
But he would have
Um,
the same problem that he was talking about HOA to put the
Well,
dish
you can put the
outside.
Starlink antenna on the ground depending on where your house is. It's very yeah, you're right, but it very much depends
Yeah,
on the location.
yeah,
But the phone hotspot is also pretty good too. We just
yeah.
switched from 30 gigs a month to unlimited at AT&T. That was part of the trade-off with switching some things around, was to get unlimited data at AT&T for cell service. So
I have the 500 from Google because originally I bought from them the 100, which they discontinued. And I don't think you can subscribe to the
You
500,
cannot.
but if you're grandfathered into it, you still have it. So yeah, I mean, I was okay with 100. So like I'm never gonna voluntarily upgrade that connection.
Yeah, I mean, $500. I mean, 500.
Yeah, 500 symmetrical. It's like, yeah, I don't
It's
need anything.
no.
Give me 100 symmetrical, and that's enough. Yeah.
All right, Nick, you're not ready with this special side.
now let's do one more story. I'm just wrapping it up.
Okay, that's fine. Katie, is you have who do you have now? AT&T?
Yeah, I have AT&T because I
Did
switched over to fiber.
did they notify you that it's going up?
No.
Okay.
Why is it supposed to go up?
Yeah. I mean, Hannah's went up $10.
Oh. It did go up, or they said it was gonna go up because they're switching their online payment. So if you do your online payment with a credit card, you only get a $5 discount, but if you do it directly to your bank, you get a $10 discount.
That makes sense. They're just
Interesting.
passing along. They're just passing along the 3.25%
Yeah.
processing fee.
Well, we do it's directly with the bank, and it's
Yeah,
still
ACH.
they said it's going to go up $5. I don't know if Hannah's doing it with a credit card or directly to the bank.
This is just maybe a little bit of a side tip. Most places where you're doing any sort of online payment over, a regular ongoing payment over $100 or so every month, they'll typically offer you a deal you don't have to do automatic, but
Mhm.
you can do, if you set up an ACH
Yeah.
transfer, they'll typically give you a discount. So,
Yup. All right. We were talking about piracy and stuff a couple of weeks ago. Italy's brand new anti-piracy law has just received full approval from telecoms regulator AGCOM, and that's there. In a statement issued Thursday, it noted its position at the forefront of the European scene in combating online piracy. The new law comes into force on August 8th and authorizes nationwide ISP blocking of live events and enables the state to issue fines up to 5,000 euros to users of pirate streams. So if you are watching a pirate stream and they find out, you can be fined 5,000 euros. I mean, this is sort of like a deterrent, but I'm wondering how do they find out who's using it, and especially if you use VPN. Um, I hope they know what they're talking about and how they do it. It's not empty threats.
um, there's probably an empty threatness to it. If you just noted if you're using a VPN, if you're using a VPN, you're fine. I mean, they're not going to be able to track that.
Oh,
If you're not, there's probably a more likelihood that they could. Um, but will they is the question. And most of the time, the answer to that is no, because it's a lot of work.
yeah. Last night I was watching CSI Cyber, and it was interesting. They decided, okay, yeah, we need to track this laptop from wherever. We need to find out the IP address, and they found out this the stream of the traffic it goes, and it goes, oh, okay, so it's in. Oh no, wait, now it's in Singapore. No, it's in Paris. No, now it's somewhere, and it was just jumping all over the place, kind of. And so yeah, that's how they do it. They keep changing, and that's what they do also with the cell phones now. That's how it's sort of like people cannot tap into your phone calls easy like they used to, is because it is changing frequencies. I think it's frequencies that they're changing.
Well, it's all digital now. I mean,
Yeah,
the literally tapping the wire is not a thing
yeah.
anymore.
And but talking about where was it about phones and uh, security? A group of cybersecurity researchers has uncovered what they believe is an intentional backdoor in encrypted radios used by police, military, and critical infrastructure entities around the world. The backdoor may have existed for decades, potentially exposing a wealth of sensitive information transmitted across them. That's, I remember I used to listen a lot to scanners, and I don't know how many years ago, suddenly, I mean, they said, okay, no, everybody's switching now to digital, and the digital were more expensive. I think I bought one and didn't like it, but that's when I stopped because they were doing something to make it more secure. But here, police, military, all that, and they have a back door in it. That's really, really kind of disturbing to say the least. That all right, Nick, you're ready, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. Da-da-da-da-da. Huh? What happened? Yeah. Ta-da!
We all love a good error message, right? Doing a little Windows 10 installation. Something happened. Something happened. really no, really no description of the error in any way, shape, or form. But hey, it happens to the best of us. I guess your only option is to
Yep.
click cancel. All right, we got a couple of things on special this week. This first one seems like a really good deal. I will admit, I have not had an Acer laptop recently. But this is the Acer Inspire 5. It's a 15.6-inch touchscreen laptop. It's running a 13 gen Core i5 1335U. It's got Windows 11 built into it, but look at this thing, 16 gigs of memory, and a terabyte solid state drive. Got a backlit keyboard. It's got a full numpad on it. HDMI, built-in HDMI port, so you don't necessarily have to have a dongle to hook it up to a TV or projector. It's
Mhm.
not the thinnest laptop in the world. The side profile shows it's a little thick on it, but it's definitely not a bulky laptop by any stretch of the imagination. This seems like it'd be a pretty good daily driver. The only thing you'd be missing is if you're doing anything graphics accelerated. Um, it does not have a discrete GPU, so it's going to be the Intel graphics. But on the 13th gen, those are more than sufficient for a vast majority of tasks. Normally $700 over at Costco, $150 off. You can get it for $549.99. Looks like a pretty good deal over there.
Yes.
Amazon Fire Tablet. Best Buy has got this on sale. This is their 10 plus. It's 10.1 inches, 32 gigabyte. You can root and clean and wipe the Amazon apps off this stuff. I've got the Fire 7, I think, or 9 or whatever it is. And you can play around and do some stuff. Normally 179 on sale for 94.99. That's over at Best Buy. Next up, check this thing out. This is pretty neat. It's a power bank, a large power bank, 60,000 milliamp hours. So this thing is a tank. In terms of what it will charge with that capacity, you can get about 3 charges out of a MacBook Air, about 7.5 charges out of an iPhone, or get about 42 hours out of the LED lamp that you can see built into the top there. So they show some of the use cases for this. Emergent during a power outage during a storm. Not only can you charge your devices and keep things topped off, but you get a little bit of a light with it. Light camping and things like that. Also, you can hook up a solar panel to it. It's got solar input on it, so you could charge it if you're in a period or a place where there's no utility power available. It's normally $170, but there's a $50 coupon directly on Amazon for it, so that gets it down to $120. If you're somebody that goes long spurts without power, camping or traveling or whatnot, um, looks like a pretty good deal. Anchor makes a lot of great products. It's got a screen built into it, so pretty nice little package and device on this for $120,
Does it
available over at Amazon.
does it show you there what it weight?
It sure it does. Let me see if I can get the weight real
'Cause
quick.
that's
Little over 5 pounds, so
wow.
not egregious.
Yeah.
It's got a strap on it, so I mean,
Yeah.
it's not light. It looks like it's the size of maybe like an orange juice carton or something like that. I think that's about the size of it. It's not massive,
Mhm.
but it obviously is a little bulky with all those batteries packed in there. It's got decent reviews as well, so check that out over there. Next up, Walmart TCL 75-inch 4K smart Roku television, 498, sub $500 for a 75-inch smart TV. It's pretty unbelievable how cheap these things are. In terms of connectivity and ports, it's got 4 HDMI ports, so you're probably good to go with that. You won't need to buy a switch. One of them supports ARC for audio through a sound bar, and then the 3 others are just regular 60 hertz HDMI ports. It's got Ethernet, so your smart TV, you can ditch the Wi-Fi. It does have an AV in as well, so you can hook up a standard definition device, retro video game console, VCR, and then it's got headphone audio out and optical audio out. So it's got everything that you would expect on a TV for $500. Pretty good deal over there at Walmart. A lot of folks are buying devices that are slimmer and slimmer and coming with less and less ports and less connectivity. And especially if you're somebody that uses your laptop as your main driver, you don't have a desktop, you're definitely going to need a port excuse me, a dock so you can get some more connectivity and get access to some more ports. So a pretty good deal here on the Monoprice Thunderbolt 3 dual DisplayPort docking station. So this thing supports two 4K DisplayPort 144 hertz DisplayPort connections. The dock also includes an Ethernet jack, so you can get gigabit Ethernet. It's got a couple of 10 gig USB ports on it, USB A and USB C. Plus, you get a CF and a SD card reader, as well as a headphone jack. These things are expensive, based on what they are. This is normally $180. It's on sale for $70, available over at Monoprice. When you add it to your cart, you get an extra 30% off. So you'll see that when you go to checkout. So $70, some high speed Ethernet, and a couple of 4K displays on it as well. So check that out over at Monoprice. Next up, TP-Link, Casa. That is their smart home brand of products. And I've used a couple of Casa products. I've been rather impressed with them in terms of all of the other manufacturers and what they make. Their app is pretty good. And the nice thing about it is you don't need a hub. You do need, however, a 2.4 gigahertz network. They are Wi-Fi connected. So this is a three-way dimmer switch kit. So this comes with two two switches. One is the main switch where you're actually connecting the wire, and the other is the satellite switch. So you can put it on if you've got one on one side of the living room, one on the other. You can use both light switches. It's a three-way switch, and it's got all of the functionality of a smart switch: scheduling, smart actions, voice control, dimming options, things of that nature. Normally $54, on sale for $36.99. You will have to physically wire this into your wall, though. So just be advised if you need to do that. And then next up, a product I bought this morning. This is the Ugreen USB-C to Ethernet adapter. It's a gigabit adapter. $9.89 on the cost on that. It's normally $18, and it just takes a regular USB-C port that your laptop has and converts it to a gigabit Ethernet connection. I have an old USB 2.0 one, which has worked fine, but I have a couple of spare USB-C ports on my laptop, so I'd rather carry this around and use the USB-C port for this, if needed be for Ethernet. So that's available from Ugreen. They also have a couple of other things on sale: SD card reader 4-in-1 for $9, and Cat 8 Ethernet cable for $14. Ugreen's running a sale on a couple of their things. Just click the link in the specials to get access to that.
And you don't
and
need
that.
a driver for that adapter, right?
No, I don't think so. I do need a driver for my USB 2.0 one, which has been kind of a pain in the ass as of late. So, no, you won't need. God, back me up on this. You won't need a driver for this.
No, it's part of the actual USB 3 standard protocol. So if your computer already supports USB 3, probably you won't need. I think you actually, when you hook it up, I think your BIOS, let's say, if it needs internet connection, you can use that. It's
Excellent.
as
So
integrated as yeah.
I will report back next week. I'll give it a shot.
All right, Nick. Thank
This
you very much. But
sorry, this is equivalent to the docking station that in the other offer, right? And the reason I'm stressing this is that's why it's the docking station also is available. A Thunderbird docking station is available from boot. So this is like the equivalent of a physical docking station.
it
That's why you
becomes
don't need
part
any.
of the
Yeah,
computer when
right.
yeah. All right. All right. Thanks again, Nick. Talk about available when you boot and all that. There was something that I came across on Dave's computer tips, and I don't know how um, viable it is. It seems like I mean I did switch it on mine. Where is it? Uh, in Windows 10 and Windows 11, Fast Startup. Normally, you don't know what it is because it's by default there. But what he's talking about, it says uh, it helps your computer start faster after shutdown. When you shut down your computer with Fast Startup enabled, which is by default, Windows closes all the applications and logs off all users, just as in a normal cold shutdown. At this point, Windows is in a state very similar to when it's freshly booted up. No users have logged in and started programs, but the Windows kernel is loaded and the system session is running. Windows then alerts device drivers that support it to prepare for hibernation, saves the current system state to the hibernation file, and turns off the computer. When you start the computer again, Windows does not have to reload the kernel, drivers, and system state individually. Instead, it just refreshes your RAM with the loaded image from the hibernation file and delivers you to the login screen. Now, this technique can shave considerable time off your startup. It sounds good, but when the writer, when I turn off my computer, I want it to turn off all the way. You might be a person who wants to have this feature on. Either way, I will be showing you where to shut down settings and how to manage it. And he's got the instructions here, but the thing that I said I switched it on in mine is because I do get blue screens on Windows 10 about mainly after it does updates. And when it does updates and it wants to restart, I actually shut it down instead and bring it back up. I don't know what the restarts does, but I'm saying, well, maybe they're changing stuff that is being saved before it changes it. And maybe that's what's causing it. Maybe. But I'm saying if I shut down your computer, I agree with him. I want the whole thing to go down. I don't want anything lingering there from my last sessions that could be a problem. So I'll find out. I did it yesterday, but I didn't restart the computer yet. So he said that to do it, you just do control panel and then hardware, power options, and you go to the change what the power button does in shutdown settings. You will see 4 check boxes with the first being fast startup. So if you're in the shutdown settings, you will see 4 check boxes. First one is fast startup, but in order to uncheck it, you first need to click on the link above it at the top of the screen that says change settings that are currently not available. Those 4 checkboxes are grayed out. It comes by default enabled and it's grayed out so you cannot change it. But there is a link at the top of the page, kind of like toward the top, that says change settings that are currently not available. And then you can go in and change it. So you just uncheck it. You can always go and put it back. I want to see how much longer it takes it to boot. It may be trivial. But I remember somebody mentioning
That
that
was Spence.
about the shutdown, and I mean, with restart, it's actually better than shutdown?
Well, Spence experienced it with at least one of his customers was after switching this off, it solved startup issues, and on that specific machine, startup was much faster,
Huh,
and shutdown was faster as well. I think it depends, right? I'm not saying Microsoft screwed up their defaults, uh, but I'm pretty sure the defaults are not good for everyone, and
right.
that's why we have the option to switch it off. And maybe, like in your situation, it's a
Yeah,
better
yeah,
choice.
I'll try it and
Yeah.
see. I mean, it's very interesting. And Gal, I don't know if you have that, but Sarit sent something this week about the Windows 11. Shoot, what was it? Some program that Microsoft by mistake put out there.
No, no, I haven't heard
Yeah.
of it.
Let me see if I saved something. I know he sent.
Well, I know he's listening, so I'm guessing he's gonna send a link to me in a moment. He's probably frantically looking for it right now.
Oh, uh, phew.
Microsoft accidentally leak internal utility for testing new Windows 11
Yes,
features.
yes, that's the one.
Ars Technica. Yeah.
Yeah,
Um, DuckDuckGo for the win. So
and
let's see.
they took it off after a few hours, but it said it's already making the rounds. But to be careful where you get it from. So and
Staging tool.
it's interesting. Nick, did you hear about this?
As I said, Sari just sent the link.
Oh,
uh, this is from PC World. I found it in Ars Technica, and it's called stagingtool.exe. Uh,
I
da, 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 da.
I figured you already got it and tried it.
Nah, nah. Come on, who has the time, man? I'm working here.
Yeah.
There was a time where it would interest me, but now I can't. I mean, the only way I'll do this is spinning up a VM. So that means installing Windows 11 just for the nah. Forget about it. I'll watch it on YouTube.
Well, geez, interesting article.
Yeah, well, so this is part of the Windows Insider um,
Yeah.
upgrade train, upgrade channel. So if you are getting alpha and beta versions from Microsoft through that channel, right? Then yeah, sounds like they made a duty, and the fact that it was packaged. What's interesting, it was packaged, right? And so I'm guessing people grabbed it, and you said there's already scams around it.
No, it's
That
not that
tells
there are scams, but the writer said that they could be. So you need to be careful where you download it from.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Whenever you download something not from a sign, not
Right.
without a signed, properly
Certificate.
signed certificate, then you're in trouble. I wonder if staging tool is signed at all. Every executable by Microsoft, they sign them. They attach a digital signature to the tool, uh, and that's part. Years ago, they introduced this when
Yeah.
it would check whether the system has been compromised, right, by checking the signatures of the executables. So if staging tool was a signed application, then I mean, even if you get it from a different source, you can check its validity. Um, Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. Reid was wondering if any of us had it. So,
No, no. Yeah.
all right. Do you have ChatGPT installed on your Android?
No.
I have it on my phone.
You have an iPhone or Android?
iPhone.
Well, OpenAI has released ChatGPT for Android. That's from last week. Months after launching the free iOS app for iPhones and iPad. You can download it in the Google Play Store. According to the company tweet, it's available first in the US and India, Bangladesh, and Brazil, with other countries set to follow later, mimicking the staged rollout we saw for the iOS version. On July 27th, OpenAI announced additional availability, saying the Android ChatGPT app is now available in Argentina, Canada, France, Germany, Indonesia, Ireland, Japan, Mexico, blah, 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 blah. So it's available now for Android in the US. I wonder how many problems people are going to encounter with older phones and slower
I mean,
phones. And,
there's nothing happening on the phone, right? It's just an interface. Let me add to this. I have never installed a search engine app on the phone either. If it has a web interface, maybe I'll use it, right? Maybe I'll use it. I would rather not have an additional app, but I know I'm old school, right? Right. I'm my technical mindset. I mean, let's be fair. If I'm searching for something, I'm probably not asking the phone. I'm asking the computer. Uh, if I'm asking something, is because I want to see a Wikipedia entry. I don't want some elaborate answer, right? Um, so I get why people would want an application on the phone. It's just I'm not the audience.
no,
Uh, but on that note, one thing I can say, so there's right now as free AI offering. By the way, I think all of these free AI offering they require you to register an account, right? So tracking is very precise. Just keep that in mind. But out of all of the free AI offerings, right? We have Bard from Google. There's Pi AI, which is also interesting. There's Claude AI, Bing, and OpenAI. Out of these five, uh, the most interesting of all, the one that seems to be the most advanced, is actually Bing. Bing is tied in the back end. So it has like these three modes called precise, balance, and creative. Creative mode is everything was relying on OpenAI's you know, ChatGPT for implementation. And the creative mode is basically ChatGPT 4, but connected to the internet. So with context on the web page, the only way you can use the Bing one is through Edge today. There are ways to circumvent that. I'm using it on Firefox, but uh, basically it's baked in into Edge, and you install it and log in. It's the way for them to drive more account subscriptions through Edge, and that is the most advanced AI available for free today, and it's very compelling, very interesting. Uh, the main change from working with ChatGPT is when it gives you an answer, it references everything online. So you know where you're getting the answer for. And the reason that is such a great addition is because even if you read the answer and it feels like it didn't understand you, it gives you I don't know, you're talking about A on B and it's giving you an answer about B on A or something like that.
mhm.
You go to the reference and you see and you can actually read where it got its information from, and you get context and you can understand it yourself. So it has become a bit slower, right, than a search engine and you going through articles. Sometimes it can be slower. It's still the most advanced AI out there, and as assistant, something to interface with. I would, if you're looking into playing with AI, I would definitely recommend that one. That one seems to be the one that can bring you the most value at this point. So keep in mind, every question you're asking, everything you're interacting with is being tracked, right? Always, that's a full on disclaimer that probably should be with any website today, but uh just just understand the cost of free, right?
Yeah. Yep.
And
Uh,
The cost
I
of
can tell you
paid
one
too,
thing.
because they
What's
they
that?
track you. They track you when you pay for stuff too.
Oh yes, they track.
You
I
can't
mean,
get
they
away
track
from
every
it
aspect of our
why
lives.
why are you saying that, Katie?
because they definitely are businesses. Even if they're not selling, quote unquote, selling your data outside of it, every single business is tracking what you're doing internally so that they can better serve their customers.
Oh,
So there's no
That's
way people aren't getting tracked.
yeah. All right. Nick, you mentioned that you're using Spotify, right?
Yes. Those dirty bastards.
Why would they do
what
now?
now.
In its latest attempt to boost revenue and cut losses, Spotify had unveiled a widely telegraphed move to raise prices for its premium paying subscriber base. The new monthly cost for US users will be $10.99. The hike brings Spotify in line with rivals Apple Music, which is $10.99 a month, and Amazon Music, which is $10.99. Though cheaper for Prime members, Amazon Music, I guess, is cheaper if you're Prime, which both raised prices last year. Slightly cheaper YouTube Music for $9.99 a month, which has steadily built a major presence in the space with more than 80 million plus combined music and premium subscribers. The price of the premium duo plan will go up by $2 to $14.99 per month, while the family plan and student plan rise by $1 to $16.99 and $5.99 respectively. So Spotify raised their price by what? By $2? How
Yeah,
much are you paying now?
I'll
Nine.
be paying that.
Are you going to keep it at
It's
ten
still a
nine?
good deal.
Yeah, yeah. I think another dollar is when I'm going to have to start looking at an alternative.
But as you said, Amnon,
Yeah.
it's across the board. They're
Yeah.
not the only ones.
Right.
And uh and yeah, it's like, I mean, this is like Netflix price hiking as well, right? Those are inevitable.
Yeah.
Prices are not going to be staying the same. If everything goes up, these will go up as well, right? It's a bummer. I agree, but still, compared to the alternative of actually purchasing the music, right?
Oh yeah, forget that.
Right, either digitally or in some physical form,
Yeah.
which is also almost probably next to impossible today. Are they still printing CDs?
Yes, they are.
Yes.
In fact,
Interesting.
the album game is huge. A lot of uh current artists are printing out album copies or whatever, like the big
You
You're
mean
talking about
vinyl?
vinyl. Yeah.
vinyl. Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
huge. I mean, it's all comparable, right? Comparable to how vinyl used to be. It's not
Yeah.
huge. It's a
Yeah.
niche. It's
No, but what's interesting is that you can walk in to a music store and the first thing or not music store, but whatever, a media
yeah,
store now. The first thing you'll see in the music section are big vinyls. Like you can go to Barnes
right,
and Noble and they have a big media section in the back, and the things that are premium are the vinyls because the vinyls are
right.
looked at not as like specifically for vintage, but more of like a special collector item where like it's special artwork. There's usually like a poster involved or some kind of thing. So you're like spending 30, 40 bucks on a vinyl to get all that limited edition stuff. So whoever was in charge of rebranding vinyl, they did really well because people are buying the vinyls over the CDs.
Yes, that's true. That's definitely true. I don't think CDs will ever get that type of revival
No.
because there's no the quality involved in a CD compared to what it's digital. So anything we can get as a digital file is probably even
Well,
better, right?
you
Because we can
literally
preserve it better.
you literally cannot play a CD anymore. Computers don't come with CD drives anymore, or D drives, whatever they were called, and cars don't come with CD drives anymore. So unless you have a CD player still in your house, you cannot play your CD.
So
Yeah, and what?
interestingly enough, I think cars are still being shipped with CD drives, and I
No.
wish they'll
No.
continue because that is where I put my tray that holds the cell phone.
Oh, I
But
I
wait a second.
haven't. I had my last car that had a CD player was a 2009, and ever since that 2009, I've never had a car that has a CD player. And
No, I
I've
have a
gotten
2018 with a CD player. That's how I have my
Damn.
phone holded. It's like the arm that holds the phone. It slips into that CD crack.
But listen to you guys. I'll bet you that there are more working CDs out there than there are working record players.
well, sure, because
Um,
everything had a CD player in it 15 years ago. That was electronic.
outside of the US, maybe.
I mean, yeah, we have a record player. I haven't touched it in.
Yeah,
Phew.
but see, people aren't playing the records.
That's not
They're
true. I used mine last
No, no,
night.
no.
okay. Nick is playing his records.
Thank you,
But
Katie.
I feel like the majority, okay, let's say at least half of the people that are buying the records aren't playing them. They're displaying them as an art piece or like a
Well,
collector thing.
actually, I think every single one of the people buying vinyl has a vinyl player. I don't
Yeah.
know if they're usually listening to the album, but they listen to the album at least once on vinyl. That's for sure. Uh, I mean, they sell vinyl players with Bluetooth
Oh,
audio
yeah.
today, right? So it's like, yes, there has been a revival. Uh, is it? But it's a niche, right? It's not going to take over. That's clear enough.
Famous last words.
No, it won't take over. There's no the manufacturing volume is very low, right? Uh, the price is very high because it's all about quality of product right now. If you're buying something, right, because of its artistic value, you also want it to be the you're willing to pay for it, right? And that's
It's a
what goes on.
collector item now.
Yeah, it's a collector's item. They're going basically the way of comic books in a way, right?
Yeah.
Where people buy the comics books. There are those who are subscribing and reading them. Those are today very, very much digital. But there are those who also subscribe to certain series and buy trade publications and stuff like that, just so they could have it on their mantelpiece. And that's usually a collector's item. It's
Oh,
not necessarily.
it's interesting. I'm sitting here thinking, and I'm saying I haven't touched the record player that's the hi-fi one
No.
probably in more than 20 years.
Wait, are you talking about that big one? That
No,
old
no, no,
one?
no, 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 no.
Yeah,
There's
'cause we
one
messed with that.
that's hi-fi that's connected to but I did use the Vitrola.
Yeah. You busted that out a couple of months ago because we were asking about it, and
Yeah.
that thing is loud. You want to talk about noise complaints when kids are blasting their music? That thing is like yelling. And well, it makes sense because they don't necessarily have speakers, so it's like the wooden box. You have to so you have to close the wooden box, and so the sound goes through the wooden box. And they built it, I
Yeah.
guess, to be super loud. But if you don't have
That
that closed, you're gonna go deaf.
I wish they made needles, styluses for 33s on it. Oh
I'm
no, but
sure
there's no
they're
33.
somewhere.
No,
There's got to be somewhere,
nah,
somebody.
no. The head is way too heavy. It's gonna just. It's like a lathe for vinyl. Because the
I'm
other,
sure you can find somebody who still deals in manufacturing those,
yeah. Anyway,
and somebody is willing to pay $50 for a small needle or something like that, right? It's like I'm sure it exists.
here is something else we were talking about: AM radios in cars. So the U.S. Senate Commerce Committee approved legislation on Thursday of last week to bar automakers from eliminating AM broadcast radios in new vehicles. The AM radio bill had strong bipartisan support and has companion measures in the House of Representatives. The AM radio bill would direct the Transportation Department to issue regulations mandating AM radios in new vehicles without additional charge. Senators said this year that at least 7 automakers have removed AM broadcast radios from their electric vehicles, including Tesla, BMW, and Volkswagen. Ford reversed course in May under pressure from Congress. Lawmakers say losing AM radio undermines a federal system for delivering key public safety information to the public. So now the
So,
government saying, no, you can't. Right.
I mean, I get it, right?
Yeah.
It's just uh, the fact that this is playing out the way it's playing out is
Yeah.
so ridiculous.
Yeah.
What do you in what regard?
Just the process, right? It's like this was a flex, right? Who was the first one we were talking about? I think it was Chrysler.
I don't
Ford was the
remember.
big one that made the big stink about it.
Right, but it already, as the article said, it already happened with other manufacturers, right?
Yes.
And so this was like a flex of, okay, let's see, if this can we can make this a thing, and suddenly the legislation jumped up. Good legislation. We talked about it. We talked about why it doesn't make any sense to put this thing out, right? To take it out. It's just, I don't know, with so many much more important issues, right? Suddenly, this takes sort of front and center for at least a few senators and Congress, right? People. Uh, I wonder the amount of pressure from all sides that has been applied on this. And now I'm trying to think, okay, so how can we make how can we ride this trend and get more things legislated that make sense?
Yeah.
I think this one is we've talked about it a little bit, but this is unique in regards that the federal government has a huge vested interest in the emergency alert system. I mean, they're the ones that mandate broadcasters to use it. So it's kind of like, well, so you're mandating broadcasters to do this, but then at the same time, car manufacturers are stripping it out of the cars. So why are you either have to make them put it in the cars or stop mandating the EAS system, which I would argue that over the air EAS is kind of useless now. Now that phones have WEA, the wireless emergency alerts, um, useless probably wasn't the right word to use. It's just far less important when you've got polygon based alerts and phone location data. It could be helpful in the car for sure, but it's not like what it used to be.
Right. Well, will this legislation, right? Will this translate to something else? Every home builder must subscribe. Well, like there's going to be a licensing fee per home, and you'll be regulated if like there'll be surprise inspections of, do you have an AM radio at home? Like it's
Uh,
something.
I don't,
It feels off.
I really don't see the big deal of including an AM receiver in the radio that they're already putting in there. I mean, we're talking
I
about probably pennies. I
Correct.
remember when I got when I got the Mercedes diesel, which was in 87, I got it in the 90s, had the original Mercedes radio, AM, FM, and about 2 or 3 shortwave, uh, ranges. Well, I mean, yeah, back then, maybe it was, today, what are you gonna listen to shortwave in the car? I don't know. But it it probably was not that much to add all these together. So what's the
Well,
they're
and
they're worried about the noise, right?
that's what they say, and that's the excuse that they're using, but that's not really flying. Um,
Okay.
it's just not. It's not. There's noise in every other facet of the car too, and they are able
Yeah.
they use filtering to block the noise in plenty of other places. I don't know why that one is so different.
The
The
thing
answer is it's
is,
not.
the reason that I see this ridiculous is now that it's regulated, now there's a law around it. There's going to be additional legislation around this for sure. And so, at, if you are making a legislation, you're also creating the parameters for certifications and for proof, right? That means that what used to be, what, I don't know, as you said, pennies on the dollar, pennies to add to a car, right? Now it's going to become a huge burden on everything, because there's going to be people who's going to inspect it to make sure that that exists. Uh, uh, there's going to be certification. So these companies wanting to save us, uh, uh, quote unquote, right? To create a situation where something is added because it used to be added for ages, uh, make an effort to push this out. Some interest group created a whole hoopla around this of this should be a thing that is allowed. We got laws into place. Instead of solving the solution with don't worry, you're gonna get a hand cracked AM receiver in every car to solve that problem, that will cost another, I don't know, $2 for the manufacturer. uh, Now it's becoming law, and when things become law, right, that is when we have we start complaining about the law. So that's
No.
why it seems very comical to me, the way this goes. It's like, let's go back to the 80s and have the government legislate that all VCRs must be Betamax or something like that, right? It's like it's like it feels like it just everything about this process is wrong.
That's all right.
Yeah.
That's all right. Okay, a report about Threads. Daily active user count is down 82%.
Wow, amazing. Who could have thought it?
Surprising.
Yeah. There are only
People logged
8
in, they
million
saw it, they
users
left.
accessing it a day now.
I
That's
mean,
That's nothing.
that's reasonable, but for a new network, right? Uh,
we'll see. We'll see what
People
happens
went
next
in,
week.
they
And
saw it, and most of the people left because, yeah, there's no real
yeah,
interest in adding a new layer of complexity, right? Basically, like managing another network of people. Yeah.
all right. Chairwoman Jessica Rosenworcel, the FCC proposes a new broadband standard of 100 megabits download and 20 megabits upload, replacing the 2015 25 by 3. In today's world, Everyone needs access to affordable, high-speed internet. No exception, he says. It's time to connect everyone, everywhere. Anything short of 100% is just not good enough. Section 706 of the Telecommunication Act requires the FCC to determine whether broadband is being deployed on a reasonable and timely basis to all Americans. If the answer is no, the U.S. law says the FCC must take immediate action to accelerate deployment of such capability by removing barriers to infrastructure investments and by promoting competition in the telecommunications market. And we know a lot of those providers took a bunch of money because they were going to bring their broadband to areas that did not have it, and they still don't have it. They took the money, but they didn't fulfill their promise. We'll see what
the
happens.
Telco companies were lying.
Did I say no? I don't put words in my mouth.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Sorry.
okay.
No, they just tried and was too hard. But I like the remove any barrier, right? Yeah, this mountain here, we can't go through it. Let's remove it.
Thousands of top Russian officials and state employees have reportedly been banned from using iPhones and other Apple products over concerns they could serve as surreptitious spying tools for Western intelligence agencies. I mean, we did it with Huawei, now they're exactly. This is and poor Apple, I don't think Apple ever played with anybody to leave back doors or anything like that, right?
They've never made it public.
Well, I mean, but
why wouldn't they? They
I don't
are
know.
exactly the same as every other company. Come on. It's like they're not different.
Oh, I don't know.
I'm not saying, look, I'm not saying that the Russians are right? But I'm saying they are no different. Apple are no different. And so it makes total sense for the Russians to take this type of action the same way it makes sense, right, for the US to be concerned about TikTok data
Yeah.
being in the States versus outside of the States, etc.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's the same thing. It's not. I'm not surprised. It's the way the game is played.
Oh. Who has a Chromecast?
I have one. I
Nice.
just don't use
I mean,
it.
have one that I'm not using.
Yeah,
Built into the TV.
Don't use it. 'Cause
Perfect.
you're using it illegal.
Huh?
Alphabet Google violated a software developer's patent rights with its remote streaming technology and must pay $338 million in damages. This is from a federal jury in Waco, Texas. The jury found that Google's Chromecast and other devices infringe patents owned by TouchStream Technologies related to streaming videos from one screen to another. Google spokesperson Jose Castaneda said on Monday that the company will appeal the verdict and has always developed technology independently and competed on the merits of our ideas. TouchStream attorney Ryan Dickel said on Monday that TouchStream.
What's his name?
Ryan Dickel. Dykal.
Okay. All right.
Was the touch screen was come on.
That's
Get
okay.
out of
All
the
right.
gutter.
You're in the gutter. I'm not doing anything wrong.
Yeah, the touch screen was pleased with the verdict. New York based TouchStream, which also does business as Shodog, SHODOGG, said in its 2021 lawsuits that founder David Strober invented technology in 2010 to move video from a small device like a smartphone to a larger device like a television. So they're not talking about using the Chromecast, I guess. They're talking about casting it from your phone to the TV.
Right. That that's how Chromecast started.
Yeah,
That's a big thing.
it
I
is.
mean, first of all, the fact that it's only 340 is bizarre.
Yeah,
340 bucks
yeah.
because it feels to me like if this is true, this is the whole premise for the Chromecast. How come it's just 400 less than
400
400
million.
million,
Yeah.
right?
I
But
don't know. They,
yeah, I mean, I'm guessing also that for that company, that's I don't know anything about it yet, so we'll need to look at what those means. But yeah,
yeah.
this is a big deal. This is, I mean, where did they have a lawsuit with Sonos, right?
I think Sonos already they solved that.
Right.
I think. They,
But it was proven that they did
yeah,
take from Sonos, right?
yeah.
So
Oh, I'm
I
sure they
mean,
stole. I mean, you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's
yeah,
like this is they're being picked at, but somehow it doesn't. They don't budge, right?
yeah.
I wonder why we are. Aren't there lawsuits like these with Apple? I mean, it can't be that Apple is that airtight. So it's like I'm surprised that we, from time to time, we hear about these Google lawsuits, but we don't see any of these lawsuits with Apple. Interesting.
Yeah. All right. Printer manufacturer Canon is warning that sensitive Wi Fi settings don't automatically get wiped during resets. So
Perfect.
customers should manually delete them before selling, discarding, or getting them repaired to prevent the settings from falling into the wrong hands.
Well, they gave us a warning. They're so
Well,
nice.
yeah.
I'm curious though. So you do a factory restore on a device. How are you supposed to how are you supposed to clear the Wi-Fi that's it's going to ask you to reconnect to a network? You're not even that doesn't even make any sense.
Well,
I
that's
mean,
what
they're
they're
not
telling.
clearing the register or the storage that it's stored on. It doesn't mean that you can access it from the menus,
Correct.
right? But yeah, it's
So how would
ridiculous.
you do that then? If you can't access it from the
Yeah.
menu and you're setting it up as a new device, how would you're not going to be able to clear any settings? That doesn't work.
No, but if you clear the settings before you factory wipe, that's probably does
Ah,
clear.
yes,
Yeah.
very, very, very helpful.
So you do a factory reset, you connect to your Wi-Fi, and then you clear that connection, and
Correct.
then you set
Yeah.
it.
What a great idea.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's why I said they're very nice into providing us that information.
yeah,
That's very important information.
How many people are
Thank you.
selling printers though,
I know.
realistically?
I know. I
No,
would
but
say
but you are taking them to the tech.
Are
I
you
was,
though?
I mean, they're talking about discarding, selling, getting them repaired. I would
Nick,
say before you give it away or donate it to
well,
non-profits.
this
That's,
includes business machines, right?
yeah,
Those probably are being resold.
yeah. Oh, yeah,
So yeah, think about the big machines as well.
yeah.
Yeah, but most of
Still.
those are probably going through a print vendor who's doing some of their own stuff anyway.
Right, but it still contains your sensitive
It might,
information.
it might not. If
Yeah,
you're reselling through a print vendor, they're bringing it to their shop, they're connecting it to their network and testing and all
probably.
that
Yeah.
stuff. So it's interesting.
Here is something that we can all use, I guess. Google is making it a lot easier to find and remove your contact information from its search result. The company will now send out notifications when it finds your address, phone number, or email on the web, allowing you to review and request the removal of that information from search. All this takes place from Google's Results About You dashboard. Never heard of it. Anybody else? Anybody heard of
First time
such a
I'm
thing?
hearing about it.
Huh?
First time I'm
Yeah.
hearing about it.
Uh, from Results About You dashboard on mobile and web, which it first rolled out last September. With the update, you can find your information on Google without actually having to conduct the search yourself. Once you input your personal information, the dashboard will automatically pull up websites that contain any matches, letting you review each web page it appears on, and then submit a request to remove it. So,
So when are they going to sell the information about the people who are using results about you?
good, good, good. It's just another way to get a lot of people in there, right?
Yeah. These
Yeah.
people are really interested in privacy. Let's sell
Yeah.
them some privacy.
Yeah. And talk about privacy and all that. Microsoft has once again come under blistering criticism for the security practices of Azure and its other cloud offerings, with the CEO of security firm Tenable saying Microsoft is grossly irresponsible and mired in culture of toxic obfuscation. The comments from Amit Yoran, chairman and CEO of Tenable, come 6 days after Senator Ron Wyden blasted Microsoft for what he said were negligent cybersecurity practices that enable hackers backed by the Chinese government to steal hundreds of thousands of emails from cloud customers,
I mean, a lot of
including,
accusation. What's the technical stuff, though?
well, the rest of it is what happened, breach and all that. But yeah, they said that it's Microsoft is not diligent enough in maintaining security on their service, on their cloud offerings.
Well, I can tell you, I've been looking at the Azure platform recently, and I've been working with the Google platform for the past year, and so in comparison, the Azure system seems much more robust. So I would be very interested in seeing the technical details there. Feels to me like somebody left something open. The way you use these platforms, right, is you deploy your own VMs, your own containers, your own software, your own tools on their platform, and that platform provides authentication, provides identification, provides the entire infrastructure that you would have need to build inside your own data center if you were to run everything yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is done remotely. So everything done with an API where you or a website that controls this API, and you set up the networking and the sub networking and the routers, and you can set it up the way you want. And I do not know where the negligence they are describing is, because you can set it up wrong or you can set it up right, but it is completely in your hands. Now, if they're complaining about the defaults being too lenient or something like that, I mean, I would understand, but I would also say you are subscribing to a platform where you're building your entire system, right? And unless somebody is intentionally opening something up, like the allegation claim, uh, it's all on you, man. It, it's on your people. So
Your people, you talking about Microsoft or your people,
no,
the
about the
customer?
people. No, about if they were running their platform of software on the Azure platform, right? Then if they set up something incorrect and it was too open and it allows cross
Yeah,
access
but they're
between
talking.
customers or something like that, it's on them.
Yeah,
I don't.
no, no, no. But you can't say that here because that whole thing came out because of the emails that were stolen. 365. That's all Microsoft. You
So
don't set up.
that's not that has nothing to do with the Azure platform,
Well, I
right?
mean,
That's what I'm saying. It's
yeah,
like, okay, when they ran, if that's about that, then that's about a completely different system, right? It's about, yes, about
they're
trusting another
saying,
system with your mails.
yeah, they're
That's something
saying
else.
that it's Azure and their other cloud offering. They just included Azure in it because it has a name. The other ones are just no
Yeah, but it
name
sounds like
service.
the problem was with Microsoft 365,
It
right? With
it's
the
mainly
Office.
it's mainly with Microsoft email. Yeah, that's what the
That's something
problem.
else.
That's where the breach was. They broke into, and I don't know if they're running Office 365 on Azure. I have no
Well, I'm
idea.
sure they are, right?
So maybe that's where it's coming from. I don't know, but the main thing is that people were, and they said that thing. I think we were talking about it a couple of weeks ago. Has been going on for about a year, and
yeah,
they
probably
didn't
one of the
know
shows that I wasn't on.
that they've been there for a long time. Maybe it was a different system that they were, but still, I mean, it's Windows. Windows was always too lenient. They were always too open to make it easy for the customer. From day one, I remember in the 90s.
Yeah, but that's not true about their enterprise offering. Not
Uh,
not in the past 10 years. So
I don't know. I mean, here, when you're talking about a security outfit that comes up with this kind of information making news, I mean, if but there's smoke, there's fire, right? I don't know that they would come up with that and accuse them if they weren't at least sure that this is going on, because otherwise it's liable. But anyway, it happened, and
US government emails. Yeah, I see this now.
yeah,
I'll read through it. It's probably something I wasn't aware of the specific complaint because the platform itself is robust. If they're talking about Microsoft running their own stuff on that platform and failing in setting it up, right? That is completely different. It's still there wasn't any technical uh detail
this
in the
is this
complaint. It
is
was like,
when this is when I was saying, "Hey, pop is better." They would have to break into your computer to get the email. But IMAP, it's all there. Break in and you get everybody's. It's anyway. Katie, you sell on Etsy.
Yeah.
An Etsy boycott initiated by UK-based sellers over its payment system has gotten the American company attention. Etsy addressed criticism of its policy in a blog post on August 1st and promised to substantially decrease the amount of funds held in reserve.
Mm.
Vendors have complained that the platform policy, which can freeze up to 75% of earnings in reserve for as long as 45 to 90 days, is destroying businesses and placing sellers in dire financial straits.
Mhm.
When you
That happened to
sell,
me.
it does.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long?
So what happened was, so Etsy will put a freeze on your account where they'll, that thing that you just talked about, where they'll put a reserve on it where they keep 75% of it unless you meet a certain criteria. And uh usually I feel like originally it was used for people that were not being very good Etsy sellers. So like either they weren't sending out their product in time and people were charging back and all this stuff, and but they just did it to me, and I've never abused the system. I've always sent my stuff out on time. Like I was a star seller, and they implemented a thing where, oh well, you need to put your tax information in now or whatever, and so we're putting a hold on your account until you do that. And I was like, okay. So I went in to try to put in my tax information, and their system wouldn't accept it. Like it said, error, try again later, error, try again later. So
Mhm.
I tried to get up with their customer service. Eventually I found they have a chat line, a chat box or whatever. Finally found that after searching for like an hour. So I started talking to somebody, and I was like, hey, I have a hold on my account. I've never done anything wrong. I've never had like a bad review. I've never had anybody like report me or whatever, this, that, and the other thing. Why do I have this on there? And they're like, oh, well, this is just preemptive, and it'll just be there for 45 days. And I was like, okay, well, I'm trying to put in my tax information. It's not going in. They're like, yeah, IT is aware. It's a bug. Well, that was a bug. And at no point could I enter it in the normal way. I found like a workaround where so they have a button where it says click here to update your tax information. I clicked that button to update my tax information, and then it errors out. So I found a workaround where like I clicked these other buttons where it was like update your address, and oh, if you want to put in your tax information, you can, but it was like in a different place, and
Mhm.
that worked. So their official tax thing. But then when I did all of that, my account didn't come out of reserve. And so I was like, what is going on? Eventually, after the 45 days, it was like, oh, you're fine. But I was like, I don't rely on this as my main source of income. This is just a side thing. So
Mhm.
I'm like, so the you basically put a held, and now I see why these people are upset about it. Because if this is their livelihood, and they're having issues on the back end where they said the reason why I have a hold is because of I need to put my tax information. I can't even put my tax information, and then when I finally do, it doesn't get rid of the thing. And then the people that I was talking to on customer support said they couldn't do it on their end because they
Yeah,
said that it's like automated on their system.
yeah.
So yeah, Etsy is a hot mess. There's a lot of problems with Etsy, and a lot of people are leaving Etsy because another thing that they do is, of course, they charge for ad space, which is fine, whatever. Everybody does that. But what you can't opt out of is that Etsy will use your product in a Google ad, and if somebody clicks on that Google ad, then you get charged for it, but you can't opt out of it. So people were getting charges through Etsy for ads, even though they didn't pay for their ad service, because they were going through and doing it as a Google service. Like Etsy was doing it for like Google ads or whatever. So
Huh.
that really ticked off a lot of people. So a lot of people left Etsy. But the people that can leave Etsy are kind of the ones that already have a following and don't need the the marketplace. So
Okay. Well, that's interesting. Very interesting. I remember in the early days of eBay, they were doing something similar, and they may still do it when you sell. They can, if somebody is complaining, they will take the money from your bank and hold it.
see, and that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
But with the Etsy thing, they were just doing it to do it.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, no, they were not doing it just for doing it. They were making money from holding the whole. Imagine how many millions of dollars they're holding and how much
yeah,
interest they get on the. Well,
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. They're doing it because they want to do it, they're not using it as a
as a
way
deterrent for not.
as a yeah,
Yeah.
like eBay, like a lot of these online shopping services have the same thing. If you are the seller, do something wrong and you get reported, your account gets suspended or whatever. It goes into a safety mode.
Yeah.
Etsy was doing that to accounts that had no problem because it happened to me. And I had no problem. And when I contacted customer support, I said, "Why is this happening? Let me see if I can fix it." And they're like, "Oh, well, your tax information." And I was like, "Okay." So I went and I did my tax information and nothing changed. And they're like, "Oh, well, it just happened to happen and we can't do anything about it." I was like, "Okay, well, this sucks."
Interesting.
I had not the same problem, but something similar the other week. I was out of town. I booked an Airbnb, and to book the Airbnb, I needed to add a cell phone number to my account. And on the website, I could not add the cell phone number. It would say enter the number. It would just say error, please try again. So I tried this on different browsers all over the place, and I was like, all right, fine, I'll open a ticket with customer support. And their solution to me was to download the mobile app and add it that way, which I did, and it worked. But I could not add a cell phone number on the website, which I couldn't fathom because the mobile app is, for all intents and purposes, just the website. So yeah, stuff is just kind of weird.
Huh. Okay. Well, problems.
Yep.
All right. Anything else? Kyle?
Nope.
Nothing? Katie?
No, just gotta do chores.
So you're not
Just
going to be
excited.
here next week. You're going to
No,
another.
next week I'm gonna be at another convention. This one is in Charlotte, so I will be out.
Good luck with that.
Thank you.
Nick, you said when you're not.
In 2 weeks.
Okay. All
But
right.
maybe I don't know about next week, but yeah, I'm planning on being here.
Yeah, I don't know if I'll be. Next weekend and the weekend after that is a blur. I'll talk to you after the show.
All right. All right, guys. Thanks again. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Kyle. Thanks, Katie. It was a blast. And good morning, Kathy, Hannah, Nabil, Mac, Norm, Katie, and Donna. Donna, Dina, Mati, Eleanor, Sarid, Yaakov, and Yael. Thank you for tuning to Computers 2K Now. We hope you enjoyed and maybe learned something from our time together. Remember to practice safe computing. Back up your hard drive and update your virus scanner. And change any same password that you're using out there. We'll be back here next Sunday at 9, but you can always reach us at computers2know.com. Monday through Friday, 6 to 9 a.m., Nick is on Wilmington's 980 The Wave and 107.9 FM with his news and commentary show. You can always tell your Echo device to play 980 The Wave. Or you can go later to the recordings at nickcraig.com. And Tuesdays at 7 p.m., Nick and Brian do the Infection podcast on Twitch. That's for gaming news, survival games, and some political commentary. Very interesting and informative. So Tuesday evening, 7 p.m., it's twitch.tv/Infection Podcast. We'll be back together next week. Bye, everybody.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com, Carolina Apparel, and deltaforce.net.